The eviction notice crumpled in my trembling hands as 8-year-old Emma tugged at my uniform sleeve. "Mommy, why are you crying?" I wiped my eyes quickly, forcing a smile for my daughter, the one pure thing left in my shattered world. "Just dust, baby. Help me count our tip money, okay?" 3 years ago, I had everything. A beautiful home in Westfield, a successful marriage to Michael Rodriguez, the city's most promising defense attorney, and dreams of expanding our family. Now, I was Sarah Martinez. Again, working double shifts as a waitress at Denny's and cleaning office buildings at night, living paycheck to paycheck in a studio apartment that smelled like other people's dreams deferred. Michael had left with surgical precision, citing irreconcilable differences while his secretary-turned-girlfriend waited in his BMW. The divorce papers arrived 2 weeks after I'd buried my 7-year-old niece, Maria, whose sudden brain aneurysm had shattered our extended family. While I was planning a funeral and comforting my sister through the unthinkable, Michael was planning his exit strategy. "Mommy, look!" Emma held up a crumpled $5 bill she'd found in my apron pocket. "Is this enough for my school lunch tomorrow?" My heart cracked a little more. This child, who should have been worried about homework and playground drama, was calculating our survival. "More than enough, sweetheart." What Emma didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd been volunteering at Children's Hospital every Sunday for the past year. After losing my nursing license due to a medication error that nearly cost a patient their life, I couldn't practice professionally anymore. But I could hold hands, read stories, and sometimes, when emergencies arose, I could still remember how to save lives. Little did I know that my knowledge, my sacrifice, and my daughter's pure heart would soon collide in ways I never imagined. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday that already felt cursed. The envelope bore Michael's lawyer letterhead. Even his personal correspondence was filtered through legal channels now. "Daddy's getting married," Emma squealed, pressing her face against the embossed cardstock. "Look, Mommy, it's so fancy. Am I going to be the flower girl?" I stared at the elegant script announcing the union of Michael Rodriguez and Stephanie Patricia Whitman, heiress to the Whitman Hotel fortune, 26 years old, everything I wasn't anymore. The ceremony would be held at the exclusive Brookhaven Country Club, where I'd once attended charity galas as Michael's wife. My name was listed under and guest, a pointed reminder that I was no longer family. But it was the handwritten note that made my blood freeze. Children's attendance is optional and not encouraged due to the formal nature of the event. Emma was studying my face with those wise brown eyes that had seen too much. "What does optional mean, Mommy?" "It means..." I swallowed hard. "It means Daddy's new wife doesn't really want you there, baby." The tears came instantly. "But why? I practiced walking slow, like at Cousin Maria's funeral. I know how to be good at weddings." That night, after Emma fell asleep clutching her worn stuffed elephant, I called Michael. "Sarah, I was going to discuss this with you. Were you?" I kept my voice low but couldn't hide the steel beneath. "Because your fiancé already made the decision for both of us. Stephanie just thinks, with everything being so formal, and Emma sometimes gets excited. Emma is your daughter, Michael, your only child." Silence stretched between us like a chasm. "I know that. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like you're trading in your old family for a shinier model." "That's not fair, Sarah." "Fair?" I almost laughed. "You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been helping with Emma's medical bills when she had pneumonia last winter. Fair would have been showing up to her school play instead of sending your assistant with flowers. I've been busy building the practice. You've been busy building a new life, one that apparently doesn't have room for the daughter who used to worship you." The line went quiet for so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, "She can come. I'll talk to Stephanie." But I'd already made my decision. "We'll be there, Michael, both of us, and we'll be dressed appropriately for your formal event." What I didn't tell him was that appropriately, would require maxing out my one remaining credit card for a dress that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Emma deserved to feel beautiful, even if we'd be eating ramen for the next month. The Saturday of the wedding dawned crisp and bright, the kind of October day that made you believe in new beginnings. Emma twirled in her navy blue dress, the most expensive thing in our tiny closet, while I applied concealer to the dark circles under my eyes. "You look like a princess, Mommy," she said, studying my reflection. I'd chosen a simple black dress from a consignment shop paired with my grandmother's pearl earrings, the only jewelry Michael hadn't included in the asset division. "Not quite, baby, but we look like us, and that's enough." The drive to Brookhaven Country Club felt like traveling to another planet. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway as valets in crisp uniforms directed traffic. My 15-year-old Honda Civic wheezed to a stop behind a gleaming Mercedes, and I caught the valet's barely concealed smirk. "Welcome to Brookhaven," he said, his tone suggesting we'd taken a wrong turn. Emma's hand found mine as we walked through the marble foyer. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across walls lined with oil paintings of stern-faced men in hunting attire. This had once been my world too, but today I felt like an intruder. "Sarah?" A familiar voice made me turn. Rebecca Morrison, Michael's law partner's wife, approached with the kind of smile that never reached the eyes. "My goodness, I hardly recognized you. You look different." "Hello, Rebecca. You remember Emma?" "Of course. My, haven't you grown?" She knelt to Emma's level with practiced charm. "Are you excited about your daddy's big day?" "Yes, ma'am. I've been practicing walking slowly and not tripping." Rebecca's laugh was crystalline. "How precious. Sarah, you must be so proud of how well you're managing. Single motherhood is so challenging." The words were supportive, but the undertone was clear. "Look how far you've fallen." "We're doing just fine," I replied, pulling Emma closer. "I'm sure you are. It must be such a relief to know Emma will have a proper stepmother now. Stephanie comes from such good breeding. The Whitmans, you know. Old money, stability." Blood rushed to my cheeks, but before I could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew our attention. Stephanie had arrived. She was everything the society pages promised. Blonde hair swept into an elegant chignon, wearing a stunning coral dress that probably cost more than my car. But as she approached, I noticed something that triggered my nursing instincts. A slight pallor beneath her makeup, the way she moved carefully, as if conserving energy. Our eyes met across the room, and her expression shifted from polite acknowledgement to something colder. "Excuse me," she said to the woman beside her, loudly enough for half the room to hear. "I wasn't aware we were having a charity event today." Emma's grip on my hand tightened. She might not have understood the words, but she felt the ice in them. The ceremony itself was a masterpiece of understated elegance. Emma and I were directed to seats in the back corner, technically present, practically invisible. As guests settled into their assigned places, I noticed the careful social geography. Family and important friends in the first rows, business associates in the middle, and us in what might as well have been another zip code. "Mommy," Emma whispered, "why aren't we sitting with Grandma and Grandpa Rodriguez?" I followed her gaze to where Michael's parents sat in the second row, steadiously avoiding eye contact with us. "Sometimes grown-ups make things complicated, baby." Climax 1, the verbal assault. During the cocktail hour, while Emma admired the ice sculpture, Stephanie approached with the predatory grace of someone accustomed to getting her way. "I thought I made myself clear about children at this event," she said, her voice honey-sweet but venomous. "Emma is Michael's daughter. She belongs here." "Does she?" Stephanie's eyes raked over Emma's carefully chosen outfit, finding flaws I couldn't see. "Because from where I stand, she looks like a painful reminder of Michael's past mistakes. This is supposed to be our new beginning, not a family reunion." "She's 8 years old. and old enough to understand that not every occasion is appropriate for children from complicated backgrounds. Her gaze shifted to me. I'm sure you understand about appropriateness, given your current circumstances. Emma had gone very still beside me, absorbing every word, even if she didn't fully comprehend their cruelty. Climax 2, the public shaming. During dinner, the real humiliation began. As guests found their assigned seats, Emma and I discovered our place cards directed us to a table near the service station, close enough to watch the celebration but clearly segregated from it. The other occupants of table 12 were the caterer's mother, a +1 who'd arrived alone, and an elderly man who'd apparently crashed the reception. "Are we in trouble?" Emma asked, watching the head table where Michael sat with his new wife and her family. "No, sweetheart. We're exactly where we're supposed to be." But worse was coming. When the DJ invited all the children to join in a special dance, Emma looked at me hopefully. "Can I, Mommy?" Before I could answer, Stephanie appeared at our table. "I'm sorry, but this dance is for immediate family children only. We wouldn't want Emma to feel out of place." The lie was so brazen, so unnecessarily cruel, that several nearby guests shifted uncomfortably. Emma's face crumpled as she watched other children, including some she'd played with at previous family gatherings, head to the dance floor without her. Climax 3, the ultimate insult. The final blow came during the father-daughter dance. As Michael took the floor with Stephanie, Emma watched with the kind of heartbreak that only children can feel, pure, unguarded, devastating. "That should be me dancing with Daddy," she whispered. I was about to comfort her when Stephanie's maid of honor, clearly emboldened by champagne, leaned over from the adjacent table. "Well, maybe if your mother hadn't driven your father away with her problems, you'd still be part of his real family," she said with the casual cruelty of someone who'd never known genuine hardship. Emma's sharp intake of breath was audible. "What problems? Mommy doesn't have problems." "Oh, honey," the woman continued, "asking your daddy to pay for things, causing drama, making his life difficult. Some women just can't handle when a man outgrows them." I stood so abruptly, my chair scraped against the floor. "That's enough. Am I wrong?" She smiled with poisoned sweetness. "Look around, Sarah. This is Michael's real life now. You and your daughter are just leftovers from his starter marriage." Emma burst into tears, not the dramatic crying of a child seeking attention, but the silent, shoulder-shaking sobs of someone whose world had just shifted on its axis. The surrounding tables had gone quiet, guests pretending not to listen while absorbing every word of our public destruction. In the bathroom, I held Emma while she cried into my shoulder. Her small body shook with confusion and hurt that no 8-year-old should have to bear. "Mommy, what's a starter marriage? Are we really leftovers?" My heart shattered into pieces so small, I wondered if they'd ever fit back together. "No, baby. You are not leftovers. You are the most important thing in your daddy's life, even if he's forgotten that right now." "But why doesn't his new wife like me? I was nice to her. I said she looked pretty." "Sometimes, sweetheart, people hurt others because they're scared. She's scared that if your daddy loves you, there won't be enough love left for her." "But love isn't like pie, Mommy. There's always enough for everyone." The wisdom of children. She was right, of course, but explaining adult fears to a child who saw the world in terms of infinite love and endless possibilities felt impossible. "Do you want to go home?" I asked, ready to salvage what remained of her dignity. Emma pulled back, studying my face with those two wise eyes. "Will Daddy be sad if we leave?" "I don't know, baby." "Will you be sad?" The honest answer was that I was already sad. Had been sad for 3 years, through the divorce and the financial struggles and the slow erosion of everything I'd built. But sadder still would be teaching my daughter to accept cruelty in the name of keeping peace. "I'll be sad if you learn that it's okay for people to treat you badly," I said finally. "You deserve to be celebrated, Emma, always." She straightened her shoulders with determination, that reminded me why I fought so hard every day. Then we should go back and show them how to celebrate properly. As we prepared to return to the reception, I caught sight of something that made my blood run cold. Stephanie, pale as winter, gripping the sink as if her legs might give out. My nursing instincts screamed warnings, but my wounded heart wanted to walk away. Let someone else save her. Let karma handle the consequences of cruelty. But then Emma tugged my hand. Mommy, that lady looks really sick. Shouldn't we help her? And in that moment, I knew that whatever happened next would define not just this evening, but the kind of person I wanted my daughter to believe I was. We returned to the reception just as Stephanie took the microphone for what should have been her thank you speech. But something was wrong. Her words slurred slightly, and she swayed on her feet like someone fighting off dizziness. I just want to thank everyone for sharing this perfect day with Michael and me, she began, but her voice lacked the confident projection from earlier. We're so grateful for the love and support of our real family. Her emphasis on real felt like another barb aimed at Emma and me. But I was more concerned with her obvious physical distress. Years of emergency training don't disappear, even when you want them to. Michael, we're so excited to start our new life together, free from the complications of the past. Emma grabbed my arm. Mommy, she's going to fall. She was right. Stephanie's knees buckled, and she crashed to the floor in front of 200 guests. The microphone screeched feedback as chaos erupted around us. While others stood frozen or fumbled for their phones, I was already moving. 3 years of financial struggle and personal devastation couldn't erase a decade of medical training. Call 911, I shouted, dropping to my knees beside Stephanie. Her pulse was rapid and thready, her breathing shallow. Does anyone know her medical history? She had surgery last year, Michael stammered, his lawyer composure completely shattered. Kidney transplant. She's been on anti-rejection medications. My hands were already checking her pupils, assessing her condition with the clinical precision that had once made me one of the best trauma nurses in the city. When was her last blood work? Any signs of rejection lately? I don't know. She's been tired, but the doctor said that was normal. Her color's all wrong. This looks like acute rejection. I was already positioning her in recovery position, my voice carrying the authority that came from having saved lives in situations far worse than this. Someone find her medication list, now! As EMTs arrived and took over, I stepped back, adrenaline still coursing through my veins. The crowd was murmuring about my quick response, but I barely heard them. My focus was entirely on the woman who'd spent the evening destroying my daughter's self-worth. You're a nurse? One of the EMTs asked as they prepared to transport Stephanie. I said quietly. Lost my license. Well, you just probably saved her life. That was textbook crisis intervention. As they loaded Stephanie onto the stretcher, she grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. Her eyes were clearer now, focused on my face with something that might have been recognition or fear. The transplant, she whispered. Last March, Children's Hospital. They said the donor was a child. The world tilted on its axis. March, Children's Hospital, a child donor. What date in March? My voice sounded far away, even to my own ears. The 15th. AB negative blood type. They said the family chose to donate after a sudden accident. Emma had wandered closer, drawn by the commotion. The scar from her appendectomy was barely visible beneath her dress, but I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about another scar, another surgery, another child who'd given everything so others could live. Emma, baby, come here. She approached slowly, studying Stephanie with the solemn curiosity of childhood. Is she going to be okay, Mommy? I hope so, sweetheart. I knelt down to Emma's level, my hands trembling, as I processed the impossible coincidence. Emma, do you remember when we went to the hospital last March? When we said goodbye to Cousin Maria? When she went to heaven to be with the angels? Yes, baby. And do you remember what we decided to do? How we wanted Maria to help other sick children, even after she couldn't stay with us anymore? Understanding dawned in Emma's eyes. She looked from me to Stephanie, then back again. We gave her organs to help people get better. That's right. Your Aunt Carmen and I made that decision because we knew Maria would want to keep helping people. I took a shaky breath. Emma, I think Miss Stephanie might have Maria's kidney. The words hung in the air like smoke from an extinguished candle. Around us, the crowd had gone completely silent, guests straining to hear what was happening. Stephanie's eyes were wide with shock. That's impossible. AB negative blood type. March 15th, 7-year-old donor, Children's Hospital. Each detail dropped like a stone into still water. Maria Elena Santos, my niece, Emma's cousin. The silence stretched until Emma, with the fearless honesty of childhood, stepped closer to Stephanie's stretcher. If you have Maria's kidney, that means part of our family is keeping you alive, she said, her young voice carrying clearly across the stunned reception. Maria was the best person in the whole world. She shared her toys and always helped hurt animals. I bet she's happy that she could help you too. The weight of Emma's words settled over the crowd like a blanket of snow, muffling everything into crystalline clarity. Stephanie, still pale but no longer struggling to breathe, stared at my daughter with an expression I couldn't quite read. You're telling me, she said slowly, that the kidney that saved my life came from your family? Not just our family, I corrected gently. Your family too now. That's how organ donation works. Maria became part of you the day you received her gift. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. For the past 3 hours, Stephanie had been systematically excluding Emma from her new family, all while carrying a piece of Emma's family literally inside her body. Michael looked like he'd been struck by lightning. Sarah, why didn't you ever tell me? Tell you what, that while you were planning your new life, I was planning a funeral. That while you were falling in love, I was watching my sister fall apart. That while you were choosing wedding venues, I was making the hardest decision a family can make. My voice carried 3 years of accumulated hurt. When exactly should I have mentioned that we donated a 7-year-old's organs to save strangers' lives? I had no idea. No, you didn't. Because you never asked. Not about the funeral, not about why Emma had nightmares for months afterward, not about why I started volunteering at the hospital. I turned to Stephanie, who was still staring at Emma with something approaching awe. And you spent this entire evening trying to erase a child whose family literally gave you a second chance at life. Stephanie struggled to sit up straighter on the stretcher. I didn't know, You didn't want to know, I interrupted. You wanted us to be obstacles to overcome, not people with our own stories. You made Emma feel unwanted at her own father's wedding, all while depending on her family's generosity to stay alive. But how was I supposed to know? Stephanie's voice was small now, stripped of its earlier arrogance. You weren't, Emma said, approaching the stretcher again. But now you do know, and knowing is what matters. The profound simplicity of her response left the adult speechless. Here was my 8-year-old daughter, who'd been called leftover and mistake and complication, offering forgiveness to the woman who'd spent the evening trying to erase her existence. Emma, Stephanie whispered, I'm so sorry. I was cruel to you, and I had no right. It's okay, Emma said with the matter-of-fact grace that children possess. You were scared. People say mean things when they're scared. But you don't have to be scared of me. Maria's kidney means we're family now, whether you like it or not. The crowd was utterly silent, absorbing the weight of this moment. I saw tears in the eyes of guests who'd witnessed our humiliation just an hour earlier. Rebecca Morrison, who'd made pointed comments about single motherhood challenges, was openly crying. Michael's father, who'd avoided eye contact all evening, stepped forward. Emma, mija, I'm so sorry. We should have been sitting with you. You should have been in the family photos. You should have danced with your papa. It's okay, abuelo. Mommy explained that grown-ups sometimes make things complicated. But Michael himself looked shattered. Emma, can you forgive me? I forgot. I forgot who I was supposed to be protecting. Emma considered this with the seriousness she applied to all important questions. Daddy, do you remember when I was little and got scared of the dark? You used to tell me that brave people aren't people who aren't scared. Brave people are people who do the right thing even when they are scared. I remember. Well, you were scared today, but now you can be brave. The simplicity of it, the devastating accuracy of a child's moral clarity, left no room for excuses or explanations. Michael had been scared of disappointing his new wife, scared of complicated emotions, scared of standing up for what was right when it was inconvenient. The ambulance carrying Stephanie disappeared into the night. Her condition stabilized, but requiring immediate medical attention. The reception continued in subdued tones, but everything had changed. Guests who'd ignored us earlier approached with apologies and genuine interest in our story. I had no idea about your nursing background, said Mrs. Morrison, the same woman who'd made cutting remarks about single motherhood challenges. What happened? Why aren't you still practicing? I made a mistake that nearly cost someone their life, I said honestly. Sometimes the consequences of our actions follow us longer than we expect. But you just saved someone's life tonight. Tonight, I did what any decent person would do. The past doesn't change that, and that doesn't change the past. Emma, meanwhile, had become the center of attention among the remaining children, regaling them with stories about Maria and the importance of organ donation. Watching her transform from excluded outsider to celebrated educator filled me with pride that had nothing to do with vindication. Michael approached as I was collecting our things. Sarah, can we talk? About what? About everything. About Emma's custody arrangement, about support, about how I can be the father she deserves. I studied his face, looking for the man I'd once loved beneath the lawyer's composed exterior. She's always deserved that, Michael. The question is whether you're ready to do the work. I want to try. I want to be better. Then be better. Don't tell me about it. Show Emma. Consistently. For years, not just until the guilt wears off. He nodded, understanding that words were insufficient for the damage done. The nursing license, he said quietly. If you want to pursue getting it reinstated, I know people who could help with the legal process. I'll think about it. But what I was really thinking about was Emma, who'd handled herself with more grace and wisdom than most of the adults present. Who'd offered forgiveness when she could have demanded apologies. Who'd found the humanity in someone who'd tried to deny her basic dignity. Mommy, she said, taking my hand as we finally headed for the exit. I'm glad we came. Really? Even though it was hard? Especially because it was hard. Maria always said that the hardest things teach us the most important lessons. What did you learn tonight? Emma considered this as we walked through the marble foyer, past the crystal chandeliers and oil paintings, back toward our 15-year-old Honda and our studio apartment and our life that was small in material terms, but vast in the things that actually mattered. I learned that family isn't just the people who are nice to you, she said finally. Family is the people who need you, even when they don't know it yet. And I learned that sometimes the best thing you can give someone is something they can't ever give back. As we drove home through the quiet streets, I thought about Maria, who'd given Stephanie years of life she wouldn't have had otherwise. About Emma, who'd given grace to someone who didn't deserve it. About the strange, complicated ways that love moves through the world, connecting us even when we think we're strangers. 3 months later, Stephanie sent a letter. Her recovery was complete, her anti-rejection medications adjusted, her prognosis excellent. She'd also established a scholarship fund at Children's Hospital in Maria's name, specifically for families dealing with sudden medical crises. But the part that mattered most was what she wrote to Emma. Thank you for teaching me that family isn't about who was there first. It's about who chooses to stay. I'm honored to carry part of your cousin's generous heart, and I promise to try to be worthy of such a gift. Emma hung the letter on our refrigerator, next to her school pictures and my work schedule, and the drawing she'd made of Maria surrounded by angels. It seemed fitting somehow, all the different pieces of our life sharing the same small space, creating something beautiful from what others might see as chaos. Sometimes the most profound victories aren't about getting what you want. They're about discovering who you've been all along. That night at the wedding, I thought I was fighting for my daughter's dignity. What I found instead was proof that we'd never lost it in the first place. True grace, it turns out, isn't about having a perfect life. It's about extending love even when love hasn't been extended to you. It's about seeing the humanity in people who've forgotten to see yours. It's about raising children who understand that the measure of a person isn't what they have, but what they're willing to give. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the world conspires to remind everyone else of what you've known all along, that the most important gifts are the ones we never expect to receive, offered by people we never thought to thank, carrying love forward in ways we never imagined possible. The invitation had promised an elegant affair celebrating new beginnings. In the end, it delivered something far more valuable, a reminder that the best families aren't the ones that look perfect from the outside, but the ones that choose each other again and again, even when it's complicated. Especially when it's complicated.